Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Amanda.
We are back with another Cruel Summer episode for you. We just watched episode 7, which means there are only 3 more left. Just 3. And it's insane to me because I have nothing figured out at all.
No.
Except for I now realize, I'm sure every one of us should now realize after the preview how Luke got to the cabin. But beyond that, I got nothing. I'm trying to come up with wild, insane theories for everything just because I want to throw a bunch of rocks and see if I can land on anything. But honest to God, I have no idea what's happening.
I'm really bad about putting my theory all into one
cohesive thought.
Exactly. It's I feel like all over the place, and that's why it's really hard for me to write down a theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's very scattered, and then my brain is not like that. My brain's kind of different. So I'm just going to talk kind of my theory throughout as we talk, because that's going to be the easiest way for me to do it at the end.
That's how we do it, though. That I feel like every one of our podcasts, we get more like sure in our speech, but in our minds, we are more confused the further we go through even one podcast episode that we record. But Eve always says, by the end of the podcast, we're all very confused.
We are.
Because things will pop into my head as we're talking about this happened in 99. This happened in winter 99. Things will come into my head. And then one of you guys will say something like, oh, I bet it's this. And then my theory changes and evolves throughout the podcast episode. So I don't even know by the end of it what's happening.
No, but sometimes and also I'll look away and you guys will see something that I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why I usually watch twice before a podcast, but I only watched once.
I really did like that one week that I wasn't on because I was in Michigan. I liked that week because I watched all of them before I watched the new one. And I got a whole lot more after I did that. And I keep saying, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that every week. No, that was the only week I ever did that. I don't have time for that.
No, nobody's got time for that.
So let's dig into summer of 99. Isabel and Megan are discussing that party and almost kiss. It was weird how they introed that when they were both laying on the bed together and Isabella was just there.
Feel like they were about to kiss though.
Yeah, it was weird. But I kind of got that vibe too because Megan woke up and Megan was there. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Megan woke up and Isabella was there.
I think I'm still sticking to my guns that Isabella is too obsessed with Megan.
Yeah,
and I think that's the whole villain in this story is.
Oh, you think she's all the villain?
I don't know if she's all the villain, but her obsession with Megan is going to play one of the biggest factors.
Oh, I think so too.
This mystery we have going on. So I don't know. I didn't really feel like they were about to kiss. I feel like maybe Isabella was more on that side than Megan was.
I felt like it was just their positioning more than what was actually going on in her head. She was just very close to her and leaning over her while she watched her sleep.
So freaking weird.
That was
you
weird.
Do that. Now, let me tell you, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I'm a team Edward in the Twilight Saga.
Okay,
and he used to watch Bella sleep in her sleep, and we were like, That's so different. Freaking romantic.
That's different. It is. Yes. Because
I watch it now and I'm like,
he couldn't sleep.
Creepy.
B, he's like 4,000 years old. And C, Bella wanted him in that room. That's the difference there. All right. Isabella does not have the years Edward has. Isabella's perfectly capable of sleep unless her own guilty conscience is preventing that.
Maybe. And what if she's a vampire?
Yeah. That's the twist of Cruel Summer. That's why we can't figure out anything.
She's a vampire.
Trevor made her a vampire. Trevor is
theory.
her sire. That's it. We got it. We figured it out, guys. You don't even have to watch the last 3 episodes.
That's it. That's why they named her Isabella.
Oh my this happened when Amanda and Maureen get on a podcast about a mystery. Hey, we said we're trying to throw a rock at a crazy theory. I think we've thrown sufficient rocks at that theory. Let's go. Let's see. That's what it is. She's gonna come out like Kirsten Dunst. She's gonna have a doll in a green dress.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, things got real weird here for us at FFC for a minute.
I don't regret anything I just said.
I regret nothing.
Nothing. I didn't feel the same vibes. I felt like it was kind of back to normal between Megan and Isabella, kind of like during the cleaning part. Sort of. Like I didn't feel like it was too awkward, but when Luke showed up, it was super stuffy in there.
Yeah.
That was so awkward.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Luke was pining for Isabella. Isabella was pining for Luke, but Isabella was also pushing Luke to Megan.
Yeah, this is messy. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but my opinions of Luke keep changing.
I do not like that kid.
And he is getting on my bad side kind of quickly here.
It's crazy how much I have flipped from the beginning. In the beginning, I'm like, nope, Isabella, she is the clear-cut villain. She's the one we got to watch out for. I don't like her. Luke is perfect and innocent. Megan's a little untrustworthy. Now I'm like, Megan and Luke are the worst people on the planet. Isabella's the only one who's decent on this show.
See, and I don't even know about Megan. I feel like Megan's just...
I don't trust her at all. She's got a wicked streak.
She's very selfish. That, yes, exactly. I feel like she will do anything to get her dreams and what she wants and what she needs. She's going to do what she needs to do to get there. But I just don't feel like she would kill Luke.
I don't think either one of them killed Luke.
I'm still very confused of how he died.
Here's the thing that I think this is why it's so confusing, aside from the vampire theory. The reason it's so confusing this year is because I feel like everyone in this cast is hiding, not the actors, the characters are hiding something large, something that would shine a poor light on all of them. So in season 1, we had clear cut, okay, this person is a villain, this person is not. Obviously, the teacher, clear cut villain, bad guy. Kate, not a victim. She's a victim. I still think Jeanette is a victim. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise, but I still think she's a victim. The weird, she's a victim. Here, I feel like there is no one who is a sure victim. I feel like everyone is a little bit of a villain in here. Although I'm starting to flip on Isabella. I think that she is hiding a lot. I don't trust her, but I don't feel like she's villainous, especially since going off of this, like, just a tip for if any of you are high schoolers or young still, take it from an old woman here. That's a real fun way to promote our podcast to our younger audience. Take it from an older woman, an experienced woman, lying to your friends about, no, I don't really like this guy. You can have him when you do have feelings for that guy. That doesn't make you a good friend. That makes you a terrible friend. A terrible friend. What also makes a terrible friend is when you know that your friend just broke up with this guy. You're like, hey, help me get together with him. Also not a great friend. So I think you're right. And they did throw us a bone, right? In like episode 2, we were talking about this last week. They had Megan say the line, I'm just doing what I need to do to get what I want. And Isabella said, your secret is safe from me. I won't tell anyone. We don't have to be friends. I'll keep your secret anyway. We should have known from the beginning that this is the direction it was going to go. They did give us that hint. We just didn't believe it.
We didn't take it into full consideration like we should have.
Exactly.
But
and even with Luke, it is. And even with Luke, she's saying, oh, it was a blur. He's saying, I don't remember. I'm disappointed in Luke.
Do you believe that?
No. He even says he remembers it all. At the end of the episode, he's like, I do actually remember it all.
I remember it now. Like, I guess it came back, which I know like that happens. I mean, but I don't know. I feel like he is still just too hung up on Isabella.
He is.
So I don't get what he's doing. I think he's just confused.
I don't think so.
Which I
think he's rebounding. I think it's just rebounding.
I don't think he would rebound with Megan. That would be real low. And if he tried to rebound with Megan to get over Isabella after him and Megan had been friends for all this, he's going to be in an even worse light for me.
Ooh, he should be in a bad light for you already. I think that
He's
Ned
already getting there, but
I think Ned had the right of it when he said, if the apple hasn't fallen, if he's not like his dad yet, he will be. The apple can't fall far from the tree. That's the other hint we were given. But with Luke, I feel like we're seeing he and Megan are both extremely selfish. Even when it
yeah.
comes to Luke, like there's things Megan holds back from Luke in her selfishness. There's things Luke holds back from her. When he told her Isabella kissed him, that was pure selfishness. They're both out for themselves. And I think Luke, as a teenage guy, went from his first time with this beautiful girl who dumped him to, well, I know that Megan's going to be a sure thing and she clearly is into me. So I'll start there. Yeah. I think he might genuinely have feelings for him, but I don't think in summer of 99 he did. I think it was more of a rebound in summer 99. And as they were together, I think he started to like have romantic feelings. So I think he already had a crush on her. I think seeing her with another guy kind of woke that up in him, but it was more like, she's my backup. How dare you be with her? Rather than, I really like her. I want to be with her.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on this. The whole Ned thing. This is where my mind keeps kind of going back to when you were talking. I just kept thinking about Ned.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, he has to play some kind of part in this. Something. I don't know how. I don't know where. I feel like it's too obvious if he's the one who killed Luke.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like that'd be too obvious.
I think so
I feel
too.
like they just keep pointing at him, and I'm like, you wouldn't keep pointing us at the killer this early on, which they keep having. I mean, if he does, I guess I'll be surprised because I didn't see it coming. But like, even when where him and Megan are playing with the walkie-talkies and Luke runs into Ned in the woods,
that was weird.
It was
Luke's
weird.
part
it
more
was
than his.
Awkward. I think it was awkward on both. But I mean, Ned didn't hurt him and he helped him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 6 months before he died, if that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like Ned is the villain here.
I think his role in this is knowledge. I think he knows more than he's telling anybody. And I think that everything he has done, whatever he did, was in protection of Megan.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the way that happened in the woods when he encountered Ned, it was like in To Kill a Mockingbird with Boo Radley. That's what it felt like. Like it was more the folklore surrounding Ned that made everybody so hyper fearful of him. When they ran into him, it's like, oh my gosh. But I think in that moment in the woods, Ned was like, great. They're going to come on my property. And also knowing that he's a Chambers kid, he's expecting what his dad is. And maybe he had a run in with Brent a couple times up at that cabin. You never know. So he could just be like, man, I don't want you here. I don't like your family. Stay off my line. And we know that he and Steve had been fighting for years, costing him a lot of money over the property line that's there between the cabin and his property. So we know that there's a fight, bad blood between the families.
Yeah. I mean, we see that I'm guessing it's going to be the day he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Them at the supermarket and
no, that was in this episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
but there was a lot. I feel like Ned changed a lot between those. I know he was very like on edge about Y2K and the computers, and he was on a lot of edge, but you really did see, like I said, I think they're just trying to aim us towards Ned when it's really not him.
I agree.
Because the whole scene of the parking lot was it felt very random.
Mm-hmm.
And then Luke being called into his dad's office about this, like it just all seemed pointing us. I'm trying to get to the point if they're just trying to point us to Ned too much.
To set up.
It's thank you. It feels way too set up.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that.
With the whole Ned thing. And
even if you listen to the words that Steve said to him, he said, so you felt like you had to hit him?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in that town that called Steve saw Luke as the aggressor, not Ned. And because we saw it firsthand, we know what happened. Ned wasn't really being violent with anyone. He reacted to Luke shoving him. Yeah. It was a reaction. He didn't come at Luke.
Mm-mm. But I mean, everybody saw it.
Exactly. And they all saw Luke as the aggressor.
which
So
was just, that was the kind of one of the first times where during this whole winter of 1999 is where we see Luke really change.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I can't stand this kid.
just to pinpoint it back a little bit at the plunge.
Yep.
The whole woofle of this episode is him kissing Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's admitted to it and then blamed Isabella, it just totally showed a completely different side of Luke.
Yeah.
So that, I feel like that gave us a lot of information this week.
Yeah. Especially because it's like doing that says, it's him projecting, look at how good of a guy I am. I know this is going to hurt you, but I'm telling you because I care about honesty and I care about loyalty and I'm such a good guy. So if he's pretending and placating that, then we can guess that the rest of the time he pretended to be a good guy. It was all that. It was a pretense. He's not actually a good guy. And we can see that even in the summer when he kisses Megan after they see their initials on the dock, they share their first kiss. It's, oh, that night I actually do remember it all. I do remember what I did, even though he said earlier he didn't. The other interesting thing about Summer of 99 is she confuses Brent and Luke.
Yeah.
There's
something else between Megan and Brent.
Yes, and I want them to flush that out so bad.
That I've been saying this since I think episode 1 or 2. There is something between Megan and Brent, and I almost like it for some very odd,
he's
weird
a better man.
reason. I don't know, because I still think he's a little bit creepy.
He is, but I think where the difference is I think Brent is very upfront. This is who I am. Luke is more nefarious because I'm the good guy. I'm the good one. Look at me, come to me. But he's the one who harms everybody.
Yeah, I get that.
But with Brent, to be cautious and he's not going to push it.
I'm liking Brent the more and more we go, because I couldn't stand him the first few episodes. I mean, he was one of the ones I just really didn't like.
Yeah,
but he's making his way back.
Let's talk about
I'm hoping that it keeps going this way.
I think there should be 2. Honestly, the difference in Brent and Luke, it may be because I just read all of those the Summer I Turned Pretty books. I just read all of them. It reminded me of a scene in the books where Isabella looks at Jeremiah and says, do you remember this memory of this? And he's like, no, that was Conrad. You guys all made fun of me for that. And it was this moment where she realized, oh man, I did. I've been holding on to this loving thing for Jeremiah, but it was the one I was really in love with. So I think that's immediately what brought to my mind is I think she has feelings for Brent, but she channels it to Luke because he's the one she's been friends with. It's more like he's cute and he's nice to me, so I'm in love with him. Like me in 6th grade when a kid held the door for me. I love you. And I had a crush on him the rest of the year. All he did was something nice for me. I never even looked at this kid twice before that. I think that's what it is with Luke, but I think Brent is the one she really has a connection with. But let's dig into Brent Winter of 99 when it's after Luke gets called in the office and he's about to leave and he wants to have this party. Brent goes and gives him the keys. And you see, even though we saw that fight with him and Luke, where he threatens Luke's side piece, he says all this stuff to Luke and he's very upset with Luke. He still helps his brother out. Granted, he says, if dad finds out, I'm throwing you under the bus 100%. Again, Brent is very upfront about who he is.
He is. I do like that about him, which is why I also want to take him off the list of possible suspects in this.
Exactly. Yep. There was a couple of scenes that made me think, I think Brent has more to do with this than we think he does. But overall, I think the reason that we can take him off the suspect list is because everybody's a little bit toxic in this season. Everybody has something wrong with them, but the ones who are outright saying this is wrong with me, they're not hiding it. It's the ones who are hiding it that we need to watch for. Okay, the thing about Luke too, and the reason why he is a little more shady is because, all right, the devil works in half truths, right? The devil will come up with just a little tiny little nugget of truth, but then the rest of it surrounding it is a lie, so it makes it seem more believable. That's what Luke does in every one of these instances. Is he speaks in half truths and half lies, so that the truth is more palatable. It seems more like truth, but it's actually a lie. When he says Isabella's just jealous and she wants you all to yourself, well, yes, she does want Megan to herself, but she's not jealous of you two, and it's you're the villain here, not the victim. So there's that half truth, half reality to that aspect. So it's hard to separate Luke's deceit from what's really Luke. And I think that's the dangerous aspect. I think he's more dangerous than the other people.
I do too. He's very Two-Face.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
Because
God.
I mean, the first couple of episodes, we were really kind of made to believe that Luke was very naive, innocent,
kind, gentlemanly.
yeah, and just total gaga over, Megan, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then last episode and this episode just really switched that around when he was with Megan and kissed Isabel. That honestly just blew my mind because I did not, I was still at the point where I just believed he wanted to be with Megan that bad. Like how much he loved her. And then for him to go off and kiss Isabella, it just completely changed Luke for me, which we got total.
Yeah.
I just don't trust him anymore.
No.
I trust Brent more than I trust him. And I didn't think I was going to say that the first episode.
Because Brent will tell you when he's doing something stupid or wrong or cruel. He will tell you, I'm doing this dumb thing. He's stupid enough to be proud of it. So he's not gonna hide it. And with Luke, what I was surprised there, the stupid thing for me is I absolutely thought he and Isabella were a thing behind Megan's back because I wanted to believe Isabella's the villain. But in my head, that didn't make Luke a villain. It made Isabella the villain, which is totally, first of all, wholly sexist is that. But second of all, I didn't really equate Luke as cheating on Megan until that moment. Then I'm like, oh my, you have really just been using Megan this entire time.
Yep.
Like that's it. And you can see it in this one. He's even using Isabella to his friends, but he's like, yeah, I got them both wrapped around my finger. So gross.
So much. My mouth just hung open. Let's go back to when they were shopping for the party supplies before we go too far. Okay, none of that really doesn't really have anything to do. But the fact that he went back in for his wallet, I know Jeanette put it in the notes too.
Yeah.
She made a point because also to me, that was an odd thing. That to me was a clue. I don't know why. I don't know how. I have no theory on why. I feel like he had to go back into the store for something. Something happened. He had to go back into the store, but why? Why did he have to go back into the store?
It wasn't the wallet. I mean,
it wasn't the wallet.
Unless it's bad directing because he didn't pat down his pockets. He didn't do anything. No. They were walking and suddenly he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I left my wallet. I got to go back.
It was
what made you just realize that you left your wallet in there? How do you know you left your wallet in? How do you know your wallet's not on you? You didn't check. So it felt off. And the other thing too that felt off about it is how much he wants to do this. I get that it's Y2K. I mean, I think Y2K, I got drunk with my parents in my grandmother's basement. All of us kids got drunk with my parents because it was Y2K. Yeah. So I get that, but how intensely he fought to get obliterated at this party. Even when Megan was saying
one thought in mind.
Exactly. Even when Megan was saying, hey, can we just, I don't want to go to a party. Can we just hang around? Can we just do this? No. It has to be epic. It has to be used. I get Y2K, but I think that Y2K is the image we're all supposed to be looking at rather than the fact that he genuinely just wants to get obliterated. He's almost obsessively wanting to get obliterated.
Yep. I don't know why.
The other thing too, they drop these hints. And again, I know that we talk about this all the time, that it can't be some things are just a green ring pop. Some things just are. And that will forever, by the way, be my reference for anything that is nothing. It's green ring pop, no matter what show that we're on, is going to be my reference. But
that's probably the wallet.
Yes. And if you don't get that reference, please go back and watch season 1 of Cruel Summer and then watch our podcast episodes where we break it down, because I'm not going to rehash that. But anyway, where they brought up that his dad just bought the cannery by the water. I think that is significant. That one, that they had it there. 2, that it's on the water. And 3, that his dad would be irate if he found him there.
Yes.
I think that and I'm still holding on to the theory that I think there's something to do with Steve. I think Steve is it. I even had that thought because this is the episode where we find out that Debbie has the flu. We also know in 99 that because of the tape, it can't be Nordstrom. That's not what the name of it was. North something, whoever pulled out of the deal with him, right? Cost him millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, whatever. Cost him a lot of money, pulled out of the deal. Yeah. He's going to lose a lot of money. And I thought of the theory last week that I wonder if Debbie made herself sick to collect some sort of insurance money or some sort of benefit to keep her house from going into foreclosure. What if Steve is killing her because she knows information or to try to get money from her somehow? Maybe he will convince her to write a will. It's something. She doesn't have any money to give, but I don't know. The fact that Debbie has the flu and that Steve is getting more and more hostile as the time goes on. Something might be we're looking at Isabella and Debbie instead of Steven and Debbie. I don't know why I talk about them so formally when I'm accusing them of killing somebody, but that's just what happens naturally.
There's something with his dad. I just can't
pinpoint it.
There's something with his dad. I don't know.
I think Steve and Luke are the scariest two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you. Steve has something to do with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if it's
accidental.
Accidental cover up. I don't know. I'm not there yet. That's why it's so hard to do theories in this where we're at right now. Because I'm just like, I have no idea. I have no idea. And I feel like every time I think of something, I prove it wrong before I even say it.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge confused mess at this point, which I'm all here for.
Mm-hmm.
I like not being able to guess something.
Yeah, I do too.
Hard nowadays.
That's good writing if they can keep us in the dark this long. It's good writing because we can't figure it out. I mean, sometimes I get really proud of myself when I can figure it out, but then on the same level too, when I can figure it out easily, it's like, well, was it really that well written in the first place then?
I want to work for it.
It's not that I'm so smart. It's that maybe you should have hid that a little better.
I feel like by 8 or 9, I think we can start putting a few pieces into place.
Maybe.
But then 10, they're just going to do a whole nother like flipping around on us. They're going to be like, you're
just
wrong.
Kidding. This was Debbie's fever dream.
And she wakes up.
We got vampires. We've got Felicity style fever dreams. We're just bringing it all back. That actually would fit because Felicity was in the 90s and she had a fever dream that changed a whole lot of things. So maybe. Even Steve says your actions have consequences for his family, for the family.
When he said that,
mm-hmm.
I got my ears did a little turn. I was like, uh-oh.
And then you compare that to when he found out that Luke gave the tape and he called Luke in there all mafia style with that glass of whiskey. He's like, Brent is this, but he's never embarrassed the family the way you have. I mean, that's what they were taking their inspiration from. Steve is kind of like a mafia boss, only just with his family.
I think he is not like a businessman. He is into something.
I think I don't get that vibe. I do think that he is bad and he is in this, but I think it's in the same way that Megan only cares for what she wants. I think Steve is the other way with money. I will do whatever it takes to keep my reputation strong so I keep the money rolling in. Whatever it's
smuggling something. He's got this thing down by the water now. He thinks Luke and all the kids are at freaking Tim's house. So he's had something going on in this water and the kids catch him and they recognize this is going to be Steve has something to do with it. This is where my mind is right now. Throw it in the
notes
theories.
And the other thing too that's crazy about this is obviously we knew the pregnancy thing was coming, right? We were warned about that 3-4 episodes ago, so we know it was coming, but there was no buildup. There was no I think I might be. There was no struggle. It was just suddenly, she's taking a pregnancy test. Like what?
Yeah.
Is it because you noticed you were acting weird? Is it because I wish we had more context there for that, because they gave us nothing. It was just suddenly I'm taking a test. And we know that Isabella went in her garbage. So did Isabella do that before the party? Or did she do that after the party in between when maybe she went to the cabin and then left and looked in there then? But at the party, I will say I was right about two things at the party. One was that Isabella was talking to Megan when she said, when she was angry facing. That was because she said, I didn't do that. He did it to me. And she was ready almost to cut Megan off. Right. But then when Megan came up to her and she said, we got to talk. Now's not a good time. I'm busy. And that's the first time we see Isabella kind of shutting her down, like, I'm done with you. But I think there is some correlation. Some people might think I'm crazy, but there's some correlation between what's happening with Megan and Luke and her and what happened with her and Trevor and Lisa. There has to be some sort of correlation there.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Jeanette and Eve have been looking at me like I'm insane for the past couple of weeks.
No, there has to be something. Trevor would not have been around. The Lisa would not have been around if it didn't have anything to do with the story.
Yes.
They're
more than just coincidence.
And we don't know the whole story yet. They haven't given us all that information yet. So in my mind right now, yes. I don't know if Trevor per se has anything to do with it. But I think he definitely knows a lot more than he is letting on.
For sure.
I don't know if he's really guilty per se of anything.
Come on, drink the Kool-Aid, Amanda.
I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he's guilty of anything, but I think he definitely knows a lot more than he is letting on.
Yes.
And I don't think he is completely 100% like innocent in his knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think like he like hurt Lisa.
I don't think he intended to. I think he wanted to drug her to put her out and get her out of the way for the time being so he and Isabella could be together. But I think Isabella saw him do it and was then like, okay, I have to be in protection mode, and she failed. And I think she was a little afraid of Trevor, and that's why she left. I think that's the real reason she left on a helicopter that night with diplomatic immunity, because she was afraid of Trevor. But I think we can also see here, I think the link there is she tells Megan, you always take the side of Luke. Is that something that happened with Trevor and Lisa? Is that something that Lisa maybe said to her? You always take Trevor's side. And so now she's like, oh, I get it now. Because she is maybe she views herself as the Lisa of this relationship, but she's also still trying to protect Megan.
I can see that. That makes sense.
Jeanette, I do have to say something Jeanette said. She said, I am mad I ever liked this kid. As she talked about Luke, because he was saying, I'm practicing for college. I can have both of them. No problem. I can handle blah, 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 blah. But Megan.
I'm sorry. He's not. Oh, never mind. That was. Meanness was about to come out, and I don't want to put meanness out in the world.
Good. I do think that this is the start of Megan's or Isabella's New Year's resolution is to start fresh, and Megan's is to take charge of her life and stop getting played. That all stems from Luke, from every situation with Luke. That's for both Isabella and for Megan. And I think that is important moving forward. When Megan goes up to Isabella and says, I want payback, when Isabella said, well, what do you want to do? She looked scared of Megan. And Megan said, I want to make him wish he had never met either one of us. Okay. Well, that's going to take a lot. So what Isabella is the one who looked like, I'll go with you, but I don't want to do this. That was the look Isabella was giving there. Megan, again, it's not the people who they originally linking us to. I think the scariest ones are the ones who seem the most naive and innocent. The villains here are the ones who are in that town.
I'm thinking that here we go with my theory again.
Good.
I really feel like Megan and Luke were in bed together. We kind of see that in the preview. Where she has him tied up. I think this is a part of her revenge. Obviously, that's where they're kind of pointing us, but I also feel like something goes awry. And I feel like she calls Isabella and Isabella comes, and that's kind of where they get all kind of, this is how it's going to happen. Now, I just don't know what happens. I cannot figure it out. We know he got like grazed by a bullet. It's not going to be anything like suffocation or anything.
I'm still going back to, do we know this though? Because again, we have not seen a body. We have not seen there hasn't been a funeral.
The body thing still gets me because it would not have, if he had been in the water, it would not have looked
Nope.
like, you would not have been able to recognize the body.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have. I mean, just plain and simple.
Yeah. And it's between 2 and 3 weeks at this point, and there hasn't been a single funeral. There hasn't been anything at all. There's been a memorial, but right? There has not been the memorial was they put up something in the park where it wasn't like they organized something for everyone to go there. It was they just put up a memorial in his name. But there has been no funeral. There was not even a wake. There was not a, hey, let's gather and remember Luke. There was none of that.
A vigil. That's what I was trying to think. The word I was trying to think of is a vigil. Yeah, there was nothing.
I don't know. And if we look again, I know that it's not a lot of the same team has returned for season 2, but we have to remember that at the end of season 1, we got a very key piece of information at the very last minute of the very last episode.
Yeah.
So I think there is a chance that he is still alive. And I think, that would be shocking. And I think, I'm starting to lose hope that he is alive, because where would he be? But I'm every week, like, I'll have moments where I'm like, no, he's got to be dead. And then I watch the rest of the episode and repeat, like, But this would make so much more sense if he was not dead, though.
I know. I think he's dead. I don't know, because I do go back and forth, because the whole thing with the body, it just gets me. There has to be an explanation around the body.
There does. Yep.
I don't.
And I know people,
like, if it ends and they never, like, he is dead, and that really is like how they identified the body, I'm gonna be really disappointed in this show.
I agree.
Be like, that's not, like, I know it's a TV show, but that was the most unrealistic thing, really, when you have like a mystery show like this and we're trying to find all the clues.
Yeah.
They don't play with us like that.
I wonder, now we just said that Luke and Megan are some of the scarier ones in the show, right? And Steve is, we said Luke and Steve were the most scary, but and Megan's also getting a little scary. I'm starting to see Luke in a different light. And I had a theory last week that maybe the body they found was actually someone that Luke killed and made it look like him. Maybe Luke is trying to get his dad killed. So maybe he's like waiting in the wings to kill his dad. Maybe he made a deal with Ned, which I doubt, because I don't think Ned would do that with the Chambers men. But maybe
with their altercation in the parking lot just earlier that day.
Maybe what we're going to see is in the final episode that it's not Luke who dies, but he is there in the wings waiting to kill his dad. I don't know, something. I'm not sold that he's dead, and I'm not sold that he's alive, but he's got to be one of them, obviously. I'm not sold that
50-50 chance here. Either you're dead or you're not. Well, unless he's a vampire.
It's true. He could be undead. Trevor, maybe I was right. He is running from Trevor the vampire because he didn't want to become a vampire, but Trevor got to him. So that's why we don't see him, because he only comes out at night.
I'm saying, I think
we're on to something.
I think we're on to something here.
Well, in summer 2000, let's move on to the last section that we see in the show. Megan is officially getting charged, and it is for something that we thought we have been saying, well, it has to be this has to be the files. And it was the license. And this is why now we had asked the question at the end of every week. What did what did Jeff do? Man, I swear by some point I will get the name right. What does Jeff do for money? And everyone keeps saying, I don't think it's important at this point. It comes up again in this episode. It has to be important. That nugget was not there for nothing. And so in this, he says, when she tells him, I may not go to school, they might revoke my scholarship. And he says, it was me. I did it. I told them. I got caught and I ratted you out. And she says to him, even after I kept your secret. What Jeff does for money, while it may not play a part in Luke's death, unless it's like maybe he's forging things for his dad, maybe he's forging permits for his dad with Photoshop, maybe he does something for Luke to help him get out somehow. I don't know. But what Jeff does is going to be important in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's just to explain something else, it's going to be important.
Yes, I full-heartedly agree with that. I don't know what yet. But there's too much information around him to not be relevant to the story.
Yeah, they keep bringing it up.
They keep bringing it up too much. Now, I will say, I was shocked when he said that he's the one who pretty much told him everything, because honestly, he was kind of an accomplice in that.
He
And
absolutely.
that might be why he said something, because he's like, hey, let me I was accomplice in this, so I'm just gonna totally throw her under the bus so I don't get.
Well, while making fake IDs is illegal, the reason it was up to a felony charge is because it was her who hacked. Jeff was the one who said, "Oh shoot, the only thing we're missing is the seal, so I guess these won't work."
Yeah,
And she
that's
was
why
like,
she got
"Hey, hold my beer," and then went into Washington's website, hacked their government system, stole their government seal, and then put it on a fake ID. That's where the felony came in. That wasn't Jeff. Jeff did make them, but anyone could go on there and make a fake driver's license. It's the felony came in when you hack a government system.
Yep. I don't know. I didn't like that he pretty much told on her. That was a little
So
bit.
wrong.
I was shocked. Honestly, I was
Mm-hmm.
shocked. Like, I know he was, I think he's just still hurt that she broke up with, not even broke up with him. They really weren't even together.
I mean, they're
But she
sort
didn't
of.
go see him because she picked Luke over him pretty
Yeah.
much. Right. I think
Mm-hmm.
that he is just still butthurt and sour.
I honestly think more about it was I don't think he would have said anything to anybody until it's either her or me, and I'm not going to go down for this. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it came from. But
No.
the other thing we were talking about was, there's something between her and Brent. There's something between her and Brent. When Steve tells Brent that he has her followed and he shows her the pictures outside of Ned, the look on it, like I even said this last week because this is in the preview. I couldn't understand the look on his face. It looked like he was a little horrified, and it would take a lot to horrify him. But in real time, he looked a little like, I don't know the word for it, but it was almost like he was thinking, oh crap, she's going to find something out. She can't be there yet. It was more like, oh no, she's going to find out kind of fear, not like a fear for her
Yeah.
life, but a fear of, know what's going to happen if she
Gonna
finds
find
out
something.
is what
Yeah.
it felt like. And he even goes to Megan and he says, my dad's having you followed. And he tells her, stay away from Ned. So Brent is still looking out for Megan, just like I think he was in Winter of 99 when I think he played that tape, or even Isabella might have, I'm not sure, but I think that he thinks it's Isabella on the tape. He did it for her. There is something. And then, okay, so she's in Ned's house, right? And she
Yeah.
runs into Brent coming up the opposite way from Steve. She goes out a
Yeah.
back door and Brent's going in the back door. That Brent was going to try to go in that house. I think he foiled the plan, changed his mind when Megan came out, and then he went to go join his dad.
Yep.
The way he looked at Megan then when he ran into her was like, what is happening right now? There's something that his dad, and I think it's his dad putting him up to do something. Maybe it's plant evidence in Ned's house that will link him to Luke's death, because Steven is actually the one responsible for it. Steve, not Steven. Steve.
I didn't think about that. I just
He
think
was
it's
going
still
in the
something
back
about the
door.
property. But yeah.
If he's going in the back door while Steve is making a lot of noise out the front, there's got to be a reason, right?
But they're either looking for something or trying to plant something.
And I think the reason Brent might have aborted the case is because Megan was coming out and he's thinking, well, if I implicate Ned, then I'm implicating Megan, and I can't do that to Megan.
Yep. No, he fully cares about Megan.
Absolutely. And she does about him.
Know. I think she does about him. I just don't know if it's how much. Because I feel like she can also play somebody to get what she needs or wants.
Yeah.
In her own advantage.
I don't think she's doing that with Brent. I think Brent is maybe the one person that she genuinely has feelings for. And that might be why she focused on Luke. Because she's like, well, I can't. No, Brent, you're going to slow me down. If I let myself, you're going to slow me down, and I need to get what I want. But the other thing that Brent said to her, he said, stay away from him. Ned's going down and he might take you with him. He told her that. And then he went in the back door. And then so I think that's really what it was. I think that he is. And that's why Steve said, like in the preview, it was like, I know you had something to do with my son's death. But that's not really how he said it in real time. He said, I know you had something to do with my son's death, and I'm going to prove it. The only way you could know with absolute certainty that you are going to prove it is if you plant the evidence in there yourself. So this might be another case if he's going to flip out on Brent because Brent didn't follow through.
Not going to be surprised with that at all, because Steve definitely is not innocent.
No, he is scary.
There's definitely, I feel like he's losing money, and he's pretty much doing anything he's going to need to do. to stay living the lifestyle that he is living. And I think Luke just got in the way of that.
Yeah. And honestly, it could even be because they made it a point to say that he has lost so much money fighting Ned over the property line. He said how much money he lost. He wants that fight to end because he's rapidly losing money because people won't do deals with him anymore. So he needs to stop Ned. And the only way to stop him is to get rid of him, either by killing him or by putting him in jail. Maybe, now we need to talk about some theories, but I'm going to say it now. I'm going to forget it because I don't want to write it down. Okay. Maybe Ned tells Luke all the reasons why he doesn't like Steve Chambers and all the things that Steve Chambers has done. And maybe that kind of turned Luke around to be like, really, this is who my dad is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he goes to confront his dad and that's what causes it. You know, that Steve has something to do with this. I know that Jeanette doesn't want to believe that and Eve didn't want to believe it, but I feel it in my gut that Steve is doing something.
I don't think it's anything. I think whatever happened to Luke was accidental. I don't think anything was planned. Like I said, I'm just literally going to tell my theory throughout this episode.
That's fine.
I don't think anything was planned. I think Luke saw something he shouldn't have seen. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how yet. And I think it got him killed. And I think Steve has something to do with it.
Yes.
So,
and I mean,
I just don't know.
Even the accident there could be Steve might have thought it was a necessity to get rid of Luke. Maybe he didn't want to. Like, Jeanette will like this reference, like Rafe when it came to Sarah and he was drowning her in that tub of water. He didn't want to do it. He felt like he had to. Although Steve doesn't have the excuse of I'm mentally unstable. He's of sound mind. Rafe is not.
Is he though? Is he?
Steve is, I think. He's just cruel and villainous. Okay, Megan, this is one thing that we need to talk about before we move into the preview. Megan did find the cameras and she asked him if he's always had them. So there's that right there tells me that she actually, maybe she did though. So say that would tell me that she doesn't have anything to do with his death, but maybe she wants to see the camera to see how much of her is on it.
I don't think she had anything to do with
I don't think so either.
I don't.
I think she wants to find out what happened.
Genuinely. I think the only thing that she has bad on her is something she's doing with Ned in the computer world. I think all of her crimes, if she has any on her, are all digital. I mean, I know she did the driver's license thing. I think it goes further than that. I think she's done other things that she shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes further than that. But I don't think she's guilty of murder.
Yeah. And I think she might think she is though. I think because
I think she's clearly, I think she knows maybe what happened.
I think she thinks she's responsible. I think because she knew that Luke was drugged and then she knew that was in the system. I think maybe part of her thinks, did I do this? Not like she was trying to, I don't think she was trying to kill him, but I think that part of her is going to be like, am I responsible? Did I do this? Did I cause this? That kind of thing. And with the digital stuff, I think that is where all of her nefarious things come. But I don't think, Ned says you only need to agree if you plan on playing by their rules. But I think that all of the stuff that she's doing is all on her own. I don't even think Ned's coaching her to get into this bad stuff. I think she's just doing it because, I need to do this. I think this has to be done. So I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure out how. That's why, and it does make more sense because we were talking, what kind of footloose type town do they live in where all this crap is talked about like this? Her scholarship has an honor component to it. So she can't do anything illegal without it getting taken away. And that makes sense for a coder or for someone who's going for computer networking or computer safety.
Absolutely.
Because if you're doing something illegal in the computer world, obviously they don't want to train you to do more. So
no, I knew as soon as she got charged with that her college was out. Yeah. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like if you were, you better be lucky that you're 17 when you did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I'm sorry, a lot of 17-year-olds get charged as adults.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
count your lucky stars.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
and we'll have to see how that plays out because I want to see what the results of that are on some level.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something else that's in the preview. Okay. It's Debbie and Steve. They show down. Debbie says, I'm not going to let Megan go down for a crime she didn't commit. What's crazy to me is that all through summer 2000, her and Steve were still close right up until she found the sheets. And then all of a sudden Steve was like, Even though Steve didn't know she found the sheets, Steve was mean to her. We do want to correct something, by the way. Megan, those sheets that had the blood on them were not the same sheets that she and Luke were laying on.
No.
In last week's episode. They were not the same. So I think they were the cabin sheets. But someone also says, can you say the same about Isabella? I do think Steve is saying this to Debbie when she says, I'm not going to let Megan go down for a crime she didn't commit. And he'll say, well, do you think the same about Isabella? I think he's searching for someone to throw under the bus for something he did, whether or not it's accidental.
I think he's more suspicious over Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's suspicious of Megan, but he would rather throw Isabella under the bus than have Megan go down for it in some weird way. But I still think he's reaching, he's searching, he's trying to get himself out of the doghouse at this point. I don't know. I'm so confused.
I agree. And that we do know that the sheets that had blood on them are the ones that Luke was on. The reason we know that they were the sheets, we see Luke on the sheets and she's tying him up. It's obviously her tying him up. She even shows him the rope and says, we want to try something new. So it's obviously she is the one doing this. We don't see Isabella anywhere, but we know that she's involved somewhere. The video camera, I don't think it's Jeff's that she has because Luke wakes up and he's like, what the? She's recording him. I think it's the camera that Brent has used to film people. And I think it's the same camera that Luke used to film her without her knowledge.
I agree with that.
All right, so let's dig into our weekly questions now. We have two people who are not on this podcast tonight who wanted their theories known. All right, so we're going to read through those as Amanda and I give ours. I'll start off with reading Jeanette's. For the first question is what actually happened. She's sticking with most of the theories she had last week, but there was a comment made a couple of times in this episode that changed things for her. She does have to give credit to Megan on TikTok, who we've referenced to you guys a couple times. She said some of the stuff in episode 1 in her theories for that makes sense to Jeanette, and so she's giving credit to her because she agrees with her. But she thinks Megan and Isabella took Luke to the cabin. Isabella drugged him. This week, she does believe that Megan did know about this part. I agree with that. To get the truth about the kiss and end up getting the truth about the tape too. Megan, Isabella, and Luke fight. Somehow he shoots his own ear. This has been the past few weeks. This is what she said. Somehow he shoots his own ear. If you could just flush out that part. The girls leave, and this is where her theory changes from last week. Luke tries to follow them, but since he is drugged, he stumbles around and ends up on Ned's property. They mentioned how Luke gets lost in the woods easily. That's right. They did say that. I forgot about that. We saw him getting turned around. They also mentioned how possessive Ned is over his property line a few times. I think Ned comes out with his gun and scares Luke, causing him to run further into the woods and end up at the water where he falls in and drowns. She's not sure Ned even knows it was Luke that night, but he might go back and watch his tapes and figure it out. So the girls honestly did not know what happened until his body was found. Eve's answer to this: Megan and Isabella bring Luke to the cabin to get back at him for lying about the kiss. They drug him to get the truth out of him and leave him there, intending to come back later after he's been adequately scared straight. A drugged Luke finds the gun and attempts to use it to escape from being tied up and shoots off his own ear. Maybe that makes more sense. Maybe drugged up Luke does think shooting through ropes is the way to go. I don't know. She said that part still isn't quite fitting.
I still think Ned shot somewhere and it went through the house.
I think that's possible.
I think they would find like a gun
casing
shot through the house, though, like a hole.
Yeah. He manages to escape and wanders onto Ned's property, who scares the crap out of him, and he wanders into the water and drowns. Okay, so very similar there. All right. So, Amanda, what do you think happened? Do you have an idea?
I think that I'm almost the same as Jeanette and Eve. I think we're getting kind of close. I think though that I don't think Luke shot himself in the ear. I think somebody else shot him in the ear. I think it was an accident. I think Isabella tried to be tough and hold him up at gunpoint to get the truth out of him, and accidentally shot, and it grazed his ear. They were trying to clean up the blood, freaked out, left. He's been drugged.
Yeah.
Goes out into the woods for help because obviously he's probably bleeding from his head, and then falls into the water and drowns. But I don't think they knew that I think they went back and it was bloody and he wasn't there. So that's my thought.
Okay. I think that's pretty similar. And they did say in episode 2 how bad of a shot Isabella was and how she needed help and she couldn't hit anything. So I think that's more plausible that she was trying to play tough and maybe the gun accidentally went off.
I don't think she meant to shoot him. I think it accidentally went off.
My only thing there is if that is the blood, I'm wondering why Megan waited so long to throw the sheets away. Because she didn't throw them away right after Luke's body was found. She waited. Maybe she's trying to cover tracks. I don't know. But wouldn't the sheriff have found something? I mean, would they be smart enough to get the bullet out of wherever it went? Because if it grazed his ear, it went into something in the house, whether it's the sheet, the bed, the wall, the window, the something. So maybe she knows well enough by now to get rid of the evidence. I don't know.
Maybe.
My theory is, I start off by saying, I don't freaking know. Obviously, we know that Megan lured him under false pretenses. Obviously, we can see that. That's not even a theory anymore. That's what happens. Yeah. But it didn't seem like Isabella wanted to be involved. She seemed afraid. And I think likely because Trevor has done this before with Lisa. I think that she may have helped Megan set it up and then left so Luke couldn't see her. Because there's my only qualm there is he's awake enough that she says, want to try something different. But then he wakes up tied up and he's like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So he passed out somewhere in between want to try something new and actually getting tied up. He passed out.
Yeah.
So I don't know when she was there, but I think it was her pills that were put into a drink, the ones that she flushed. I think that's what we can solidly agree on. When she leaves, when she came back, I think she thought Megan killed him because there was blood from a scuffle. Maybe the scuffle was with Ned, that Megan ran out of the cabin and she went to Ned's house to say, help me. Luke is doing this because maybe Luke got free and she was afraid of him at that point. Luke got loose and she ran. So she freaked. Megan thinks Ned killed him, but Isabella somehow did something against her to break her trust. So I don't really know what's happening. That's not even really a solid theory. That's just random guesses at what could have happened in different times of the night. I don't know. I got nothing. Yeah. I got nothing. So is Luke actually dead? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think yes, but maybe no. Also, if he is dead, I think it was accidental. I don't think anyone intentionally murdered Luke. I think he is either dead or he ran and he faked his own death using someone else he could have killed in the process of trying to, I don't know, get after his dad, something.
Yeah.
Even Jeanette will say yes, absolutely. There's no doubt in their minds he's dead. So let's see, what do the girls know what happened to him? Jeanette says they know, but somehow, but not how he ended up in the water. And Eve said they know how he got to the cabin and about the drugs, but not how he died. What do you think, Amanda?
I agree with Eve on this one. I think they know how he ended up with the gunshot. I think they did drug him, but they did not know that he drowned.
I think Isabella thinks that Megan went too hard at him. And I think that she might even think that Megan went to Ned for help because I think she knows that Megan couldn't have done this all on her own. But there was that scene a couple episodes ago when she walked up to Debbie and said, you need to get yourself a lawyer and make sure it's good. I think she's saying that because she thinks Megan did it. And she wants to make sure, hey, get somebody that's, is good. So I think that's what she thinks. I think that Megan blames Isabella, but I don't think that she thinks she's responsible necessarily, but I think that she thinks she's responsible from a mental standpoint, maybe not actually killing him. But I don't think either one really knows the end result of the night. All right, so let's go on to the next question. Who or what was he running away from? Jeanette says no one.
I say no one. I think this was a total made up story.
And I am starting to lean that way. I think in the end, though, I think where she's getting, like, again, with the half truth and the half lie, I think he ran from her.
Yeah, I think she's covering up something, not a murder, but she's covering up something. And I don't know what, but no, I don't think he ran.
Yeah, I don't think he ended up at the cabin because he ran.
I don't think he ran. I don't think he was ever trying to run away. I think he just drowned that night and that was it. I think that I think she made up that story to cover for Luke.
Or
You know what I
Luke?
mean? For Luke.
Oh, to cover what he was actually doing?
Because he was missing and she thought he ran away.
Oh. All right. So I think that Megan may be covering her tracks. I think that, again, with the half truths and the half lie, I think it could be that he did wake and he saw that she was intent on doing him harm. And so he took off running from her. I think that maybe she realized it went too far. I do think that there's truth to, she really thought every day that he was going to call her and say he was okay, that he didn't really die, because she didn't actually kill him. She didn't have anything to do with him. I think there's a certain point where she walked away and he was still alive, and that's the last she saw him. So, but Eve said no one. Megan's either lying or speculating, and Jeanette said no one. Megan made the story up. All right. So who made the tape? Who played it? What do you think?
Who made the tape?
Yes. Who made the tape and who played it?
I think Luke made the tape.
Mm-hmm.
I think Isabella played it.
Jeanette said Luke made it. Brent released it, thinking it was Isabella. Eve said Luke made it. Isabella played it at the party, hoping to show Megan once and for all what kind of guy he really is. I'm leaning more towards that.
That's where I'm heading. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that Luke made the tape without Megan's knowledge. Same theory as last week.
Yep.
And I think Isabella played the tape in a twisted way, trying to be a better friend to Megan. Same as last week. So I think that Brett was kind of like, yeah, see, this is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he played it. I think he was appreciative that it was played, but I think Isabella played it.
Yeah.
So what was Jeff doing for money? What do you think? Your answer can be something. You don't have to say anything on that.
I don't know. I don't even have a guess on this. I was gonna say fake IDs, but I keep going further away from that now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because his fake IDs can't be very good, because he can't get into the system to get. He was impressed with how Megan got in the system. So
I just feel like he wouldn't have told on Megan if he was like that involved with making them.
Exactly. I agree. Jeanette says, not sure. I think this mystery isn't actually important anymore. Still think it was Brent, which is why he knew the real Luke and tried to warn Megan about him not as being as perfect as he seemed. Eve said fake IDs, but still not sure if it's important to the mystery. I think it is important, and I think it has something to do with Steve, something illegal, and I think it could be something like creating false permits. It's something to do with Photoshop.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
I could see that too. That would make sense. Helping Steve.
All right. So what happened to Lisa in St. Bart's summer of 98? Mine is still the same as last week. But do you have an idea what?
Mine's exactly the same as Jeanette's.
Okay. Jeanette thinks it's exactly as Isabella said. Amanda thinks same thing. And Eve said Lisa finds out about Trevor, and Isabella storms off, wanders in the water, and drowns because she's drunk. Mine is the same as last week. I think Trevor had a hand in there somewhere. What happened to Megan's baby? Jeanette this week. Last week she was torn between think it's alive with Ned. This week she says miscarriage. Eve says miscarriage, or she took care of it herself. Also, are we certain it was Luke's? Ooh, maybe it's Brent's.
I think it's Luke's.
I like
because that was there in their happy time. I think it's Luke's, and I think she had a miscarriage, but I think it was due to the stress over all of this.
Okay, I didn't even think, are we certain it's Luke's? Because it wasn't their good times, but she and Luke were fighting a lot recently, and Brent was standing up for her a lot more recently, and even more violently towards Luke, more angry at Luke. What if it is Brent's? Maybe Brent is what Luke is to Megan. Maybe that is what Megan is to Brent. And maybe she is the Luke in this scenario, where she was like, okay, I'm going to give in to you. Just like Luke was like, oh, I'm going to give in to Isabella. I wonder if maybe, because Luke and her are kind of the same selfish human beings. So maybe that I still think she took care of it herself, because she does whatever she wants to get what she wants. So I think she took care of it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't that wouldn't be like a shock to me.
Yeah.
But I'm sticking with mine.
Okay. So why do you think there was blood on the cabin and on those clothes? And remember the sheet. I got to change that to sheets. It said clothes, and I brought it up last week and I never changed it. It's sheets. Now remember that the blood that she cleaned up was after they did their original sweep. So the blood is not from that night of the murder or whatever happened in the cabin on New Year's Eve.
No, I definitely think it was when she lost the baby.
Okay.
I definitely think
from the miscarriage.
Yeah.
What do you think the blood is on the sheets?
Abortion, whatever she did.
Why do you think there's blood on the sheets? You think it's from his ear?
I think it is.
Because maybe it was the pillowcases that had blood on it. We don't
I
know
think
what
he
part
was
of it
laying
was.
tied up when she shot him, so I think he would have been in the bed, and I think that's yeah. I think the blood is. I think the blood from on the sheets is from her ear, but the blood in the cabin is from her losing the baby. However, she lost it.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So Jeanette thinks that the blood in the cabin that she went back to clean up is from the miscarriage that happened there. And we see how and why the sheets were there. She took them at some point because they were on the bed that Luke was tied to. So it has to be his blood. At least she thinks it's his blood, if anything else. Eve says that from the miscarriage or whatever happened to the baby, she's back to the idea that miscarriage or whatever was happened at the cabin, not at home. I think I agree with you completely. I think that it is from what I believe is a self-abortion. And I think the blood on the sheets is from Luke's ear because they're two very different things. Yep. All right. So we only have a couple more questions. Next one is, what role does Ned play in all of this?
I think he's just a mere pain in the butt for Steve. I think he's the reason Steve has to go to such extreme measures to make the money he needs to make that ends up costing Luke his life somehow. But I don't think he has a big part. Maybe something with the cameras. Maybe he caught something on the cameras because he has the cameras everywhere. That might be where he's important.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Jeanette says nothing other than a mentor for Megan and the reason Luke ran towards the water that night. Eve said Megan's computer mentor, maybe the reason why Luke wandered into the water. I think that Ned's role in it is informative. I think he has more information than people think he does. And I think that's largely due to the cameras, like you said. And I think he pays attention wherever Megan is. So I think
he has a thing for Megan.
I don't think he has a thing. I think it's like he feels for her like she's his daughter, is what I think. I don't think it's a romantic thing.
He has like a mentor-ish ship.
Yeah. And I think his role is scapegoat for Steve. I think Steve is going to try to pin everything. And I'm sticking to my theory that I think Brent was supposed to plant things in his house and Steve is going to have the cops go out there and they're not going to find anything because Brent didn't get to plant it. So I think that he is going to be the scapegoat, which means that Steve knows more about the murder as well.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to pin it all on Ned. And I think that's why he wants to talk to Megan so bad, because I think he wants to know what Megan saw that night as opposed to Megan, what did you do?
Yeah. I think he just wants to figure out what happened before he knows what happened.
Yes, exactly. Last two questions. What is Debbie sick with? Whatever this flu is going to turn into. I agree. That's what Jeanette says. East, there's still no theories. Not even sure it's relevant. Feel like the only relevance is to give theories for Pill's origin. I think that it stems from whatever happened in this episode with the flu. But she's better already in summer 2000. So I don't know.
I don't think this is relevant at all. I think this was just an excuse for them to have to go to the cabin and not have the party at Megan's house. Right?
Mm-mm. They didn't go to the cabin for a party?
Or they couldn't go to Megan's house. So they could not move the party to Megan's house from Tim's house.
But this is stemming back from in the very first episodes when they're like, Isabella, you were going to fly out. She said, yeah, but then Debbie got sick and I had to stay. And then that first episode, Debbie's on the couch, unable to help with Lily, which, by the way, where is Lily? She didn't even show up in this episode.
I said this episodes ago. When's the last episode she's been in? Like, I don't.
Two or three.
This girl. No, I don't think her being sick has any relevance. Just getting the pills. If it does, I can't match it in yet.
I do think that's what it was. I think it was to trip us up with the pills because we see her filling that giant pill box in episode 1 or 2, and we never see him again. So I think they wanted us to think that's how they got the pill. I think they're setting up for us to understand where they got the pills to drug Luke with. I really think that's the only relevance. Nope.
Yeah.
Relevance. Jeez,
relevance.
Louise. Relevance.
Relevante.
Honestly, that's what it is. I'm going to be irritated because that's just sloppy. Find a different way. That's
yeah. I can't figure out what relevance it would have.
I don't think it has any relevance, and I think it's going to irritate me. I think that if you want to write a good mystery, don't completely intentionally give us information that is an absolute misdirect, give us pieces of the truth and hide other pieces of the truth and reveal it when you want to. Don't lie and say, well, this is what is happening.
I think there has to be something, but I think it's a small thing. I don't think it's like anything big.
This is a ring pop, I think.
Yeah, it might be. I think it might just be where the pills come from.
Mm-hmm. I know. That's going to irritate
Which
me.
I feel like is a huge roundabout.
Because they can get it anywhere. And Megan is going to that's the first episode. We see Megan go to the pharmacy and they're like, oh, picking up the pills for your mom. Like, they made a big deal of how sick she was in the first 2 episodes. Big deal.
They did. And now she's like, fine.
Yeah. What is it? A cold? So what were those pills Isabella flushed? Jeanette says they were what they used to drug Luke, and Eve says the pills that drugged Luke may be taken from Debbie. What do you think?
I agree with that. I think they're the pills that Luke got drugged with. I think they're from Debbie's illness.
My only question here is, why did she wait until summer of 2000 to flush them?
Because the body was found and the investigation was ramping up.
But when
she didn't want Debbie to know those pills were missing. But now she's like, well, crap, I'm going to get rid of them all.
Maybe because they had... So what you're saying is because they now had a body to examine to see what was in a system, that's why she dumped it. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so now that we've cleared it up, then now I think that's what she flushed, because that was the only... I was like... But I the crime expert gave me the okay to believe in that. So I'm gonna defer to the crime expert.
That's just what first went through my mind personally. I think I felt like that from the very beginning. Those were the pills that Luke was drugged with.
I just don't remember what benzos look like.
Who knows?
Not that I ever really knew.
I have some medications that literally it's the same medication, but yet some weeks it looks different.
It's true. That's true.
So who knows?
Are you just picturing that scene in Dumb and Dumber when they feed him the pepper and they're going, pills are good? It's all in my head right now. Pills are good. Okay. All right. So that is most of what we have to talk to you about. I'm sure that we could, as I say every single week, I'm sure we can keep talking and confuse ourselves even more than we are.
Yeah.
But we broke down what happened in the episode. We gave you what we think our theories are. Cruel Summer airs on Freeform Monday nights at 10/9 Central, or you can catch it on Hulu the next day. I watched it this week fairly early on Tuesday. I think it drops at like 6 a.m. on Tuesdays. So if you cannot watch it, if you don't have cable to watch it on Freeform, or you don't have the Freeform app, go ahead and head over to Hulu Tuesday mornings, watch it, catch our recaps and our reviews on Fridays at 6 o'clock Eastern or 6 o'clock Central Time. Yeah, between 5 and 6 Central Time is when we upload this for you guys to listen to on Fridays. We want you to have the weekend to digest the nonsense we spew to you. Please, if you are listening to this, I'm begging you, let me know if anybody else got a Trevor is guilty vibe. Please. Let me tell my people that I am not insane. Please back me up on this.
You'll be so happy at the end when you get to go, I was right, you're wrong.
If I'm not kidding you, if I end up being right about Trevor, you guys are never going to hear the end of it. Not ever.
I know.
I think
even if I believe you at this point, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to keep going.
I think that all of you are secretly praying. Don't be right. Don't be right. Don't be right. Don't be right. But, the other thing I was right about Isabella was talking to Megan, and that Megan was talking to Fred, Jeff. Mm-hmm. See, I get cocky, and then I get a humble reminder of how my brain works because I can't get this guy's name right. Jeff. Anyway, check out our Facebook group. It's Cruel Summer Family Fan Club. We have a spoiler ban that goes up for 36 hours. So from Monday until about 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Wednesday, we have a spoiler ban. We will not approve any spoilers, so that page is safe for you to go see. However, if you do want spoiler ban or spoilers, go to our spoiler thread where we can talk every week about what's going on in the episode. So check those out. Also, don't forget Wednesdays, we're bringing you our Netflix reviews. We know there is Netflix on your future. Speaking of which, we got news today that any actor or actress in the SAG-AFTRA union or organization, they are not able to give interviews talking about their work. So we cannot be bringing you any interviews for the foreseeable future because now the actors are also currently on strike. So we cannot get those to you. So we are going to bring you all the Netflix reviews that we can because there is Netflix in your future. This week, we are bringing you documentaries. We're going to be reviewing a couple documentaries. It'll be me and Amanda. Again, your favorite duo, your favorite team. So go ahead and check those out on Wednesdays. Don't forget to watch our recaps and reviews for Cruel Summer on Fridays. And we will see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.